Today we're playing 200-400 with a $400 big blind ante. It's a new highest stakes session that I've ever played. The day before I lost over $100,000 for my first time in a nightmare session, and it was my 10th losing session in a row. I've never had a downswing like this before. Previously, I don't even think I've ever lost 7 sessions in a row. None of that matters much. It's a new day, and it's a chance to turn things around during our second stream in the Lodge's brand new studio. Since the day before went so poorly, I don't have quite as much capital on hand as I'd necessarily like. I've got $160,000 total. We buy in for half of that and are hoping to get off to a good start so that we can restore some confidence. It's a tougher lineup than yesterday, with most players being solid pros. In hand number 2, Terrace, who's one of the only pure recreational players at the table, raises to 1,000 on the button. We're in the big blind with ace-5 offsuit. We call to defend. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes jack 6-4 with 2 spades. We've got 1 over and some backdoor draws. I check. Terrace likes his middle pair enough to fire a c-bet for 800. Our hand has too much going for it for me to want to let go immediately. With the flush draw blocker and backdoor draws, I raise to 2,000 to see if we can steal a pot. We'll fire big on future streets if a spade comes out, or perhaps if a card comes that completes a fictional straight for us. As far as value hands go that we may check raise with, we can have all the suited 2-pair combos as well as sets of 6s and 4s. Terrace is sticky. He calls to see what develops on the turn. The dealer puts out another 6, giving the opponent trips. The amount of value hand combos like sets and 2 pairs that we were representing on the flop are reduced, and we can see that it's possible that our opponent could be holding a 6. I don't have it in me to give up just yet though. I bet 4,700 when checking with plans of folding to a bet is actually the better option. If I get called here, I'll almost for sure shut down unless a spade comes on the river. Terrace is certainly not going to be departing at this point. He calls. This is when I start suspecting that he could potentially be holding a 6. I'm for sure done with the hand if a spade doesn't come out. The river is the 3 of hearts, giving us one of those fictional straights that I mentioned earlier. I have removal of the 7-5 combos, and I would have checked raise flop with 7-5 anyway as a bluff, so maybe I'm going to go back on that no firing again if a spade doesn't come out. I've been with my girlfriend for almost 5 years without proposing. She thinks that I might have commitment issues. I have no idea what she's talking about. To prove her wrong, I commit big time to the bluff as we get ready for the triple barrel. I think about how much I'd make it if I really had a full house or a straight and I was betting for value. Ultimately, I make my decision.
Kiss those chips goodbye.
How's the Ben Simmons thing gonna play out? Is it over? Is he just toast?
Yeah, I think so.
He's actually really good.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
He just can't shoot. Everything else, he's just one of the most athletically, like,
I feel like you have a
players.
6.
Yeah, but if you're not there mentally and you're like, and you got to shoot in today's NBA, you got to be able to shoot.
I don't know if I can fold this one.
There's no way Terrace is folding.
Yeah. Can I flip over my cards without folding?
Yes, you can.
Okay, for more fun, guys.
Yeah, Brad's going to look sick when he sees that.
I'm like 90% chance I'm calling.
A little bit of a nit roll here, perhaps.
I feel like he has like ace 6.
Terrace is no nit, and he likes big pots. There's really 0% chance he folds. So, matter of seconds before the $12,000 goes in,
I'm
and
telling you, he has ace 6. Maybe even something better. Like, are you really bluffing? Like, I don't think you're bluffing.
wow.
Like, I'm gonna look like an idiot if I fold this.
Talking himself, perhaps, maybe. I said 0% chance, but now it's rising to maybe.
All right, let's go.
Oh! Sit down, Terrace. Wow.
And that may just be what it takes to get Brad back in the win
I said
column.
0% chance he's folding.
Wow. Look at the smile on Brad's face.
This one pumps me up. We win several thousand to start the day. Sometimes all it takes is a hand like this to happen to turn things around, and in this game, we can fairly easily recover 100,000 or more if we run well. Just a few hands later, we find ourselves in another situation against Terrace. We've got pocket 9s in the small blind after Terrace opened to 2,000 in a straddle pot. We 3-bet to 10,000. It's a larger sizing than I'd make in a game without a straddle or a big blind ante, but 5x or even larger is pretty standard in this format. Terrace reluctantly folds here as well. I know he wants to get me back after laying down trips, but he can't do it for that amount in this instance. Just 10 hands in, I've won almost as many hands as I did all yesterday.
I think he told me he won 3 hands last night. And he's already won 2 today through hand number 10. So if you're a Brad Owen fan, which we all are, that's a good sign.
Absolutely, yeah.
Things are going well and I'm feeling good. Sometimes you get the sense that the day is going to be your day. An orbit later, we drill the flush with Jack 9 of clubs. After a check through on the turn, we make just under a pot size bet of 15,000. We showed our bluff earlier with the ace 5 offsuit. Perhaps that'll allow us to get called lighter in this situation. But our opponent Hook only has a bluff catcher since his kicker doesn't even play. He still does a tremendous job of making a fold here that not a lot of people would have the discipline to make. We win our third hand and we're cruising along. I'd almost forgotten what it was like to win pots at a reasonable frequency. We started the day 7-handed, but Hook already busted one player after getting it all in pre-flop for about 60,000 effective with pocket 9s against pocket 8s and holding to win a pot over $100,000. This is an enormous game, and now it's 6-handed, so there's nowhere to hide. Right after we win with the flush, Terrace raises to 1,000 in the hijack with 10-7 suited. We're on the button with ace-king of clubs. I 3-bet to 3,000 in position. We're looking to play a big pot.
Brad with big slick suited. He's starting to heat up. Already won more hands today than he's won all of yesterday through 18 hands.
This seems like it'd be a fairly standard fold from Terrace, but he has other ideas. He goes with what can only be described as an unconventional 4-bet to 10,000. For quite a while after folding trips, he seemed to be on tilt. Since then, we 3-bet him and he had to fold his pocket 4s. I also just won the last pot. Terrace may think that I'm bullying him and the rest of the table, and he appears to be taking a stand. Under normal circumstances, I may just flat the 4-bet and play this in position. Because I get the sense that Terrace is making a play with a much wider range than usual, I'm comfortable putting in a 5-bet to 27,000. It's a large amount. I wouldn't mind inducing a fold from a hand like the one that Terrace has so I can win his 10,000 without even having to see a flop. If Terrace shoves, I'll call without necessarily loving getting it in against a 6-bet all-in for 95,000 effective. But once again, I want to prove that I don't have commitment issues. Terrace must really have it out for me because rather than fold a chunky hand to a 5-bet for more than a fourth of our stacks, he flats for 17,000 more. Part of me thinks that he has aces, a big part of me thinks that he has ace-king, queens or jacks, and I also think there's a good chance that he has some completely ridiculous hand that in no universe, Marvel Cinematic or otherwise, it makes sense to play this way. With 55,000 in the middle, we're heads up in position, hoping to at least make a pair. The flop comes 10-9-6 rainbow. It's about as good as it gets for Terrace. He checks. While there's certainly some merit to checking back, after 5-betting pre-flop, we're going to be c-betting at an extremely high frequency because we'll have such a narrow range consisting of basically just aces, kings, and ace-king. I bet 17,000. It's around a third of the pot. Maybe we can get our opponent to fold ace-king if that's what he happens to have also. Or, given that it's Terrace, and he obviously is in revenge mode, maybe he folds another completely random hand that still has equity. I actually don't think it's even worth it to try and speculate what range of hands he'll have, when in this instance, he calls a 5-bet and shows up with 10-7 of hearts. Terrace happens to have top pair and a straight draw plus a backdoor flush draw. He gets rewarded for showing a lot of heart pre-flop. At this point, he has a fairly easy decision of jamming for 68,500. There's a gross spot for me. It may seem like an obvious situation to fold, but now the pot has about 140,000 in the middle, and I have just over 50,000 in my stack. I'm getting nearly 3-1 on a call, so I have to have about 27% equity against Terrace's entire range for a call here to be profitable. I don't think Terrace would 4-bet hands like 10s or 9s pre-flop very often, or maybe ever. I don't necessarily think that he'd jam straights, sets, or pocket aces on this flop either. It'd be better for him to keep my bluffs in, and there's nothing to really be worried about. He probably would have jammed aces or kings pre-flop anyway. The best non-make-believe hand that I imagine Terrace having is pocket queens, which we have 6 outs against twice, plus backdoor flush and backdoor straight outs. Some of the time, Terrace could also have ace-king or just 2 completely random cards, maybe queen-jack, maybe king-jack. If he's doing this with 10-7, he could easily be doing the same thing with jack-8, or maybe even ace-7 suited, or ace-8 suited, or perhaps 7-5 suited. Realistically, it's too difficult to try and get inside of Terrace's brain. The price is too good. I call. We're playing for stacks. It's a pot of $192,000. It's more than double the largest pot that I've ever played in my life. Terrace just wants to run it once. I'm kind of okay with it. I see the 10-7, and it's tough to process the situation. There are a million other flops in which we would have had the opponent dominated, including ones in which neither of us connected at all. Somehow this one comes out, we got 27,000 in each pre-flop, and it's me who's dominated. We're not out of it though. It's one of the worst case scenarios for us, and we still have almost a 1 in 4 chance of winning. I didn't win a single all-in outright yesterday, even when I got it in as a favorite. A win here would more than make up for it. The turn is the 6 of clubs, giving us a flush draw. Even with one less card to come, our equity jumps up to 33%. Any club, ace or king, will not only allow us to win the biggest pot I've ever played, it'll put us up over $100,000 for the first time ever. If there was a moment to use the one time, it's right now. It isn't to be though.
Thank you.
I get stacked once more on stream, losing my first ever 6-figure pot to be down 80,000 on the session shortly into it. I was feeling great after winning some hands early on, but now I'm off to an even worse start than I had yesterday. I'm completely deflated. I've never gone through anything like this as a poker player. After giving it tons of thought, the only possible explanation I have for everything going so poorly lately is that the universe is punishing me for making the word jiggity so prevalent. I promise to never say it again if I can just run like a normal human. I add on for another 80,000 sooner than I expected. This is the last of the amount that I have available to me today. I'm done if I bust this. We just need to forget about anything that's happened in the previous hands or even previous weeks and try to play our best. 11 hands later, the straddle to 800 is on. Dylan picks up King-Queen offsuit on the button. He's a high-stakes pro from Las Vegas who I've actually played with a handful of times and included in multiple vlogs. He's very talented and has an extremely bright future in poker. He's only in his early 20s right now. Dylan raises to 2,500. We've got ace-jack offsuit in the small blind. You're never really supposed to be flatting from the small blind when the straddle's on. You're supposed to be 3-betting or folding. If you call, it allows the players behind you to have a really good price, and you generally don't want to be playing from out of position against multiple players. You also don't want to set it up for the players behind you to put on a squeeze play. Folding a hand even as good as ace-jack offsuit is completely reasonable, even against the button open, but we see Doug accidentally fold out of turn, so I don't need to worry about him coming along behind us with a call or 3-bet. I just call, which is totally fine to do when the straddle isn't on and only one player is left to act behind you. We're heads up against the button. The flop comes Queen 10-3 with 2 diamonds. We've got a gutter with 1 over. I check. Dylan likes the flop with top pair. He's not going to let us see a free one. The button bets 4,800. I'm not in the mood to let go of our hand. We've got a decent amount going for us. Ace high might even be best sometimes. I make the call to see if we can drill a miracle card, giving us the nuts. The dealer is a friend of mine named Kevin. What do friends do when times are tough? They come through in the clutch, giving you the exact card you need to win a massive pot. Clutch Kevin, that's what we call him. I can't tell you how happy I am to see the King of Hearts. I check because this will typically be a better card for the pre-flop aggressor, and it certainly is a card that improves Dylan's hand to top 2 pair. The button won't typically be putting us on ace-jack offsuit after we just called the raise pre-flop. He's not overly worried as he bets 10,800 for value. We've got just over 66,000 in front of us and need to figure out the best way to get as much in there as we can. A jam is reasonable. I might do that as a bluff in some instances, but I don't want to scare the opponent off of a top pair type of hand or even some 2-pair combos. I go with a relatively small sizing and 25,000. There's still enough room for Dylan to come over the top and jam for 40,000 if he doesn't have much and wants to turn his hand into a bluff. I'd actually expect him to potentially jam straights, sets, and perhaps even king-queen to get value before a scare card comes on the river that completes one of the draws that are present. The opponent takes his time to process the situation. Eventually, he calls for 15,000 more. This is a high-intensity scenario. We're in a $66,000 pot. We've got 40,000 effective. I've never rooted so hard for a blank in my life. The river is the deuce of spades. We couldn't have gotten a more ideal run out. We've got 60% of a pot-sized bet left in our stack. There's only one play to make at this point. Like Eric Clapton on stage alongside Mick Jagger, we rip it with the stones. Now all we can do is wait. There's over $100,000 in the middle one more time. The pot is ginormous, and Dylan is getting over 2.5 to 1 on a call. As strong as his hand is, there aren't really worse hands than King-Queen that I'll be playing this way and jamming for value, so Dylan kind of only has a bluff catcher with his top 2 pair. A call here will nearly get me unstuck for the session, which I had little hope for before this. Dylan is deep in the tank. A minute goes by. 2 minutes go by, and the opponent still hasn't come to a decision. 3 minutes have elapsed. Still no decision. I'm not moving at all. 3.5 minutes go by, then Dylan finally makes the call. We turn over the nuts. It's a pot of 146,800 that's coming to us. It's by far the largest pot that I've ever won, and the only one that I've ever won over 100,000. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe buttons yet, what are we waiting for? This one is a huge confidence booster that changes what seemed like an insurmountable deficit to overcome into one that's way more manageable. As glad as I am to take this down, I still know that I have work to do, and I'm still slightly stuck, so I can't celebrate too much just yet. We need to keep it going. About 45 minutes goes by, then Hook opens in the hijack to 1200. We're six-handed, so he's second to act pre-flop. Terrace is in the cutoff with a couple of ducks. He calls. We wake up in the small blind with pocket tens. We can mix in mostly 3-bets with occasional calls. I call here. We're going 3 ways to the flop, out of position. It comes Queen 10-4 rainbow. We've got a sneaky middle set and a score to settle. I check. Neither player bites. They both check back pretty quickly. We see a free card. It's the Queen of Spades, giving us a full house. We're gonna have to build this pot with our own bare hands. I bet 3,000, hoping someone checks back flop or pot control with a queen. Hook glances at his cards to see if his jack turned into a queen. It unfortunately didn't. He folds. Even after winning nearly a $200,000 pot against me earlier with 10-7 suited, Terrace still has revenge mode activated, and it's cranked up to 11. He gathers raising chips, then makes it 8,000 to go while drawing completely dead. When you make big hands in these types of games, it's easy to make a lot of money because people are just putting on play after play. I wasn't making big hands on day 1. Day 2, we've already gotten paid off once. Maybe we can win another 6-figure pot. I want to keep Terrace's bluffs in, so I just flat the raise. We got a river deuce in the last hand we went over. I wouldn't mind ordering seconds of that. Instead, we get the jack of diamonds. It's not the best river card because we could be up against queen jack. I check. Terrace, who looks like he comes from a long line of pillagers, tries to pillage this pot. He fires 12,000 into 20,000. While I'm a little concerned that we're up against a better full house, we could also be up against pocket fours, a straight, or just trip queens. I try to target those worst hands that won't want to make another incorrect fold against me. I put in a big check raise to 45,000. We're up against what's essentially air. Terrace doesn't have anything that he can play back at us with. He folds. It's not a 6-figure pot, but it's another fairly large one that gets us all the way out of the $86,000 hold we were in at the low point of the day. Don't look now, but we're even cracking a little bit of a smile. Poker's a lot more enjoyable when you're making big hands and winning. We're in the green with a profit of 16,000 at the moment. In this one, we've got king-queen offsuit in the cutoff. There's no straddle, so it's just a regular boring-ass 200-400 hand with a $400 big blind ante. I raised to 1,000, which is how much I used to buy in for during my years and years of playing 2-5. Doug has suited connectors. He likes to go with a call rather than a 3-bet. Hook is in the big blind. He defends it like he would as if it were his brig. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes queen 9-8 all diamonds. Hook checks, as he would also do for crocodiles. We check our top pair for pot control. When we have a player behind us, we'll be checking a lot. Doug flops a flush and has everyone drawing almost dead. He puts out a small wager at 1,200. It's a third the size of the pot. Hook folds. After checking, there's no way we can fold for that price. I call. The turn is the deuce of hearts. I check to the very trim 4-seat. This isn't a Costco, so we won't be given anything for free. Doug bets 5,500. I don't like seeing a second barrel because I'm well aware that I could be drawing dead. It's just that Doug works tirelessly at the lodge. It's actually really impressive how much effort he puts into it, and for no salary. I call because he deserves more compensation, and also, we played this pretty passively. I'm just not folding top pair after a brick turn to a guy I know is capable of making big plays. The river is the 6 of spades. It's another card that doesn't change much. I check once more with plans of calling again since our top pair is slightly under-repped. If he outflopped me, he outflopped me. Doug goes with a sizing of 10,500. I don't love calling 3 streets. You can see on my face I make the reluctant call with cards ready to be flung into the muck. Doug shows that he has all the diamonds. He does a nice job at personally taking me to Value Town before I go all by myself to Stuckville. Next we've got Hook first to act with the $800 straddle on. He raises to 2,000. We're in the small blind with King 7 suited. We're supposed to be playing an extremely tight 3-better fold strategy under these conditions. This is an example of a hand that I'll play for the stream that I wouldn't necessarily play in an ordinary game. I call. We still have a hand with plenty of potential. Nick is in the straddle. He calls with snowmen. We're going 3 ways to the flop from out of position. It comes king 4 deuce rainbow. We've got top pair and a backdoor flush draw. He checks to the initial pre-flop raiser. King high flops are generally going to be good for him. He fires a c-bet for 2/3 pot. There's no reason to jump ship just yet. I make the call. Nick folds, so it's down to heads up. The turn is the jack of spades. I don't really mind seeing it. I check. Hook no longer needs a bluff with his hand now that he has some value. He checks it back, and I basically put him on the exact hand that he has. 2 pair or better hands, he's going to be betting again. And most straight draws, I imagine that he'll be firing again on a board with 2 Broadway cards that should be decent for his range when he's first act, pre-flop, and opens. The river is the 5 of hearts. A few unlikely straight draws get there, but I already mostly ruled those out. I want to get value from a hand like Queen Jack or Jack 10. I bet half pot to target those holdings. If Hook raises to anything reasonable, I fully intend on calling. Hook looks like he's going to raise, but it's not going to be reasonable. He slides in 111,000. It's just the old 14x raise that we're facing. It's like he just took out his junk and put it on the table for everyone to see. My decision is actually a snap fold with 1 pair and no kicker. The only reason I'm thinking about it is because it just seems so likely that this is a bluff. To Hook's credit, it takes a ton of guts to make this play, and it's going to work an extremely high percentage of the time because it's such a massive overbet. I'm only supposed to be calling with the absolute top of my range, and I'll have much better hands than I have right now that I might play this way, like ace-3, sets, and some 2-pair combos. I already told you that I thought it was unlikely that Hook had a straight draw or 2-pair or better on the turn, so the only plausible hand that I think he might have for value here is a set of 5s. I want to call so badly because this story doesn't make sense, but there are just better times to make the call when I have better removal. I don't need to put the majority of my stack at risk in this situation. This is a very risky maneuver that Hook utilizes that is certainly fun for the stream, and it'll be successful a lot. Until it isn't. Here it's one of those times in which it works. I fold suspecting that I might have had the best hand. Hook shows the table a 10 as he scoops in a pot and steals some Bradley dollars. No one likes to get bluffed, particularly on stream, but calling just isn't the correct play there in the long run with that specific holding, regardless of what Hook happened to have in this particular instance. You just have to be patient against players like that and wait for more optimal opportunities to punish them if they continue to make those plays in the future. We move on to this hand in which it folds to the small blind. He raises at 2,800. We've got ace-2 suited in the big blind. It's almost a pure call. We make it. Doug's in the straddle. He comes along as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It's Queen 10-10 rainbow. Dylan doesn't want to fire into 2 opponents. He checks. We actually have the best hand with ace high. We've got some backdoor draws. We'll have plenty of 10s in our range and can maybe fold out some better ace highs or some small to medium pocket pairs. I bet 4,000. Doug has air. He folds. Dylan wants to get us back for making the straight against him earlier. He calls to see if he can improve on the turn. Dylan gets the dream card. It's the 8 of hearts. He makes his hand and we pick up the flush draw. Dylan checks. We can basically split between checking back to try to realize our equity, or we can fire a second bullet as a semi-bluff. I take the more aggressive approach and make a pot-sized bet. Over the years, I've found it's always harder to get away with stealing the pot when your opponent has the hand that you're trying to represent. Not surprisingly, Dylan won't be chased away. He calls, and this is a good indication to me that he has a very strong hand. We at least still have a good amount of outs. Dylan got there on the turn on us. Maybe we can re-get there on him. The river is the 7 of spades. We brick it. Dylan checks. I enjoy playing charades as much as the next guy, but it seems likely that we're up against a straight or better. I give up and check back. Dylan lets us know that he's got the best hand. We're down a cool 50,000. We're struggling to make hands again for a prolonged period of time while our opponents are making big plays, hitting what they need. 2 orbits after, we've got ace-jack offsuit on the button with the straddle on. I raise to 2,000. The big blind is the only customer for us. We're heads up. The flop comes king-queen 5 with 2 diamonds. The big blind checks. We've got a gutter with 1 over and a backdoor flush draw. Checking and betting are both reasonable options. I bet 3,000. Guess what? Our semi-bluff isn't going to get through. We run into another monster hand. Nick puts in the check raise at 13,000. If we didn't have the backdoor diamond draw, I'd be happy to fold this one. Even without the ace of diamonds, we're supposed to call this raise the majority of the time. We call for 10,000 more. It's a big pot. The turn is the ace of clubs. We improve, but not quite in the way that we hoped. A new high card on the board is worrisome for the opponent. He checks. This is a pivotal point in the hand. We're mostly supposed to bet 2/3 pot with ace-jack offsuit and the jack of diamonds. If we had the ace of diamonds and an offsuit jack, we're supposed to check the majority of the time instead. We check back here anyway. The river is the 9 of diamonds, so the front door flush draw gets there. Nick puts out a little blocker bet of 6,000. Given how we played the turn, our hand is a standard call. Nick reveals that he has the winner. If we had played it how we were supposed to from the turn on, we would have bet 2/3 pot when the ace of clubs came out, and either stolen it or gotten a call from king-queen offsuit. Then on the river, it would have been checked to us, and we would have jammed to almost for sure steal the pot at that point. The way I played the hand was reasonable, but there was a better line that I could have taken. I thought ace-jack was too good to bluff, so I didn't think it was necessary to make the attempt on the turn. We lose this pot, but learn from it for the next time that we're in a similar situation. The stack is going in the wrong direction. We go on a big drought without making strong hands and winning pots. It's looking reminiscent of the day before. We're down 85,000 when we pick up 9-8 of hearts in the hijack. I raise to 2,000. Nick is on the button. He makes the call. The action's on hook. He's always one to put pressure on and make things interesting. This is kind of teed up perfectly for him to go for the 3-bet squeeze. He makes it with 10-3 suited from the small blind, and he goes with an enormous sizing of 16,000. You won't find this play in your edition of Super System or any other poker book. We're playing street poker now, dudes. I recognize the hook is making these types of plays at a higher frequency than he should be. He pretty much never has it when he's going with these large sizing against us, banking on the fact that we won't play back at him. It'd be great if we were dealt some premium so that we could really punish him, but we're not that guy this week. In 2 full sessions on stream, we haven't been dealt a single pocket pair better than 10s yet. If he wants to test me over and over, eventually, he's going to get an answer. I'd be willing to bet that hook doesn't have what he's representing. I'd be willing to bet a large amount. In fact, I'm willing to bet everything that I have in front of me. We 4-bet jam for over $75,000. Before we even have time to blink, both opponents snap fold. I hadn't been all that aggressive pre-flop the entire session since I wasn't really dealt many hands to be aggressive with, so my image to pull off a big move was good. We were up against an opponent who's clearly very capable of 3-betting extremely light, and in the rare case that we're up against aces, 9-8 suited is just about the best hand that we could have. We win 20,000 without even seeing a flop. We're still down, but we've got the momentum back on our side when Terrace raises it to 2,000 from the cutoff in a straddle pot. Dylan has a hand that he wants to see a flop with. He calls. We've got ace-jack offsuit in the small blind. This is actually a pure fold. In a normal game, you're supposed to fold ace-queen offsuit the majority of the time after seeing a raise from the cutoff and a button call. I know Terrace likes to open a wide range, and the fact that Dylan didn't 3-bet makes me think that we've got the best hand. I'd 3-bet it, but Terrace already 4-bet and called my 5-bet with 10-7 suited, so I'm not super inclined to want to 3-bet in this situation. Calling with ace-jack offsuit out of the small blind went pretty well for us the first time. I call again here. We're going 3 ways to the flop out of position. It comes king-king-jack with 2 hearts. It's truly a nightmare given that we're up against trips. This has been happening to us quite a bit when we've got a fairly good but still second best hand. I check. Terrace wants to punish himself and me. He bets 1,300. Dylan is in position with a monster against someone who barrels. He flats to keep bluffs in. If we're not up against trips, we're going to have the best hand here a lot of the time. I call, not knowing exactly where we're at, but feeling pretty good. Terrace could have anything, and Dylan could have a wide range consisting of draws, worse jacks, and medium pocket pairs occasionally. The turn is a 6 of spades. It's a blank. I check. Terrace didn't like getting called in 2 spots. He checks. Dylan goes into the windup before throwing 4,000 out there. It's about 1/3 of the pot. We still can't be sure that we're beat in this instance, though it's pretty certain that we're ahead of Terrace. I called a small bet. Terrace is done pretending that he's got a hand. He folds. It's heads up. The river is the 8 of spades. All the main draws miss. I check. If we get a check back, that'd be great. It isn't happening today. Dylan bets 13,000. You can see that I don't like it. Dylan's kicker doesn't play, so ace-jack is essentially the next best hand. We don't have much of a choice. I call. On the other end of the line, we're greeted by trips. It's another rough hand for us.
Makes the call, pays it off, rightfully so. 2 pair for Brad, no good.
Even though I'm down almost 90,000, we've got a good group of guys at the table, and I'm still enjoying myself. For the first time in over 10 hours of play in the new studio, we finally pick up our first pocket pair over 10s. We look down at pocket queens in the hijack. It's a beautiful sight. I raise to 2,000. Dylan is in the under the gun straddle. He defends. We're heads up in position. The flop comes king 6-4 rainbow. no overpair or better for us. The opponent checks. We can bet small with our entire range if we want. I elect to check back and see how the opponent wants to play the turn. The dealer puts out the 9 of hearts. The straddler checks once more. Our second pair is probably good after we see 2 checks. I bet 3,000 for value. Dylan thinks that he could have the best hand. He calls. The river is the jack of clubs. Queen 10 gets there, but we have 2 queens, making that hand a lot less likely. The main hand that I'm concerned that took the lead against us is jack 9, but we can also be up against plenty of 1-pair holdings containing a 9, which is what I put the opponent on. He checks. Ordinarily, I might check back, but I'm fairly confident that we're best, so I go for thin value with a bet of 7,000. Dylan is a guy who takes his time to think things through. He's not too thrilled to be facing another barrel after getting downgraded to 3rd pair. He gets away from it and makes a good fold. That pretty much wraps it up. As with any session, there's some things that I could have done better, but the difference between winning and losing, or even 6-figure wins and 6-figure losses when you're playing nosebleeds, is a small margin, often just 1 flip of a card. If the ace-king versus 10-7 hand never happens, then I have a winning session. If I get a slightly different run out and drill any ace, king, or club in that hand, and everything else remains the same, I go from losing 85,000 to winning over 100,000. The tough thing for me is that I'm not playing these stakes all the time, so when I take shots, if they don't go well, they can potentially ruin an entire year for me. Still, there's plenty to be learned from these experiences, and win or lose, playing sessions like this will make me a better player in the long run. Lost $85,000 today. I lost $130,000 yesterday. Not good. 11 sessions in a row that I've lost. So tougher to think clearly and everything when that stuff's going on. Not feeling great, but I sold 40% of myself yesterday, and today I sold way more. So yeah, my personal amount of the loss today, it's like pretty insignificant overall. So yeah, so I mean I just didn't really, whatever. Hard to even explain the feelings right now, but just glad to have that session done with, I suppose.
Man, how cool is it that we're in Asia right now?
And this has been such an awesome stop. Super cool spot to play some poker here in Cambodia.
You know, the next spot for WPT in Asia is actually in India.
It's going to be April 12th to April 18th.
That sounds super awesome as well. I wish we could be there. There's so many things on the calendar, but I think the next best thing would be to send 2 vlog watchers in our place.
Yes, let's do that. The way that you can enter to win a chance to go to India for WPT is by liking this tweet, following WPT on Twitter, and go ahead and reply in the section below.
Good luck to everybody, and early congrats to the winners.